And this is The Intro. And I'm your host, Gus Summers. It's good to be back with you today. That's right, we are broadcasting live from our in-show studios on the Sunset Strip in the entertainment capital of the world, Hollywood. And we have a great in-studio guest, Mr. Quincy Rose.
Hey,
Quincy, what's going on there?
Not a whole lot. Just here doing your show, man. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah, really nice to meet you.
Well, likewise. You have such great enthusiasm.
Oh, thank you. I try to stay positive.
Do you?
I try, because I'm quite, the opposite way in a lot of ways. So it's my girlfriend has a saying when I wake up in the morning, I go right into the world is meaningless and nothing. And she's like, oh, Christ, here we're starting with this already. It's not even 7:30. But no, in this world, I try to stay positive.
I could just see, pulling out this the little knife and but it's retractable.
Yes, yeah. Always safe. Yeah. Safety first. Yes, even when suicide's in play. Always, you don't want to get an infection.
That's right. That'll lead to
exactly.
What happened to
there has to be somebody who tried killing themselves. Didn't die, but then got a nasty infection, was grateful that they lived, and then died from the infection. Right?
That's in a story in itself. Isn't it?
Totally.
Just starting off as
I don't know, that's an hour and a half, but that's something. It's
a short somewhere that will connect with somebody.
Exactly.
That happened to me.
Yeah.
Really? No, but
That's right.
It sounds like all that from a great creative mind. Because we're here promoting your film.
Yeah, miles to go.
Yeah, and when I talk to a lot of filmmakers, they have a lot of imagination like that. They can create stories, instantaneously.
Yeah, it's funny because I think you forget, like if you're somebody who can play piano perfectly, I think you forget that everybody else can't. And I don't think I come up with amazing stories and other people don't. But then every once in a while somebody will say, how do you, and you forget, it's something you were either born with or you learned or whatever, but you forget, it's actually a thing. It's not just, everybody probably dreams or everybody has some sort of fantasies or thoughts, and really, it's just focusing those thoughts to get your stories. But no, it's right. Certain people think, my dad was one of these people. You gave him a notion and it was, suddenly it was, you're not going to get him to stop. So. Right. He'll have 50 great ideas before, you can breathe.
Which is amazing. It's funny because I know we were talking before we started, and you love movies.
Yes.
And I love movies. And it's funny because just like anything, when you get two people who talk sports or two people who talk, literature, whatever, they'll connect. And it's just
that's right.
And their minds just start blossoming into all sorts of avenues. Do you find that a lot as a filmmaker? Do you connect with a lot of people?
I do. I I have that built in I'm afraid of the world. I don't want to talk to anybody. But as soon as I talk to them, I love talking to people.
Right.
And I feel it. I feel it's easy to connect to people. At least in this superficial, kind of conversational way with anybody, especially people in service positions, because I don't know why I relate so much to the worker, but I really do have a working sense in my mind, and that's where I always had jobs when I was a kid. My mom always said, you have to have a job. Even when I was 13, she dragged me in summer to the office. She was doing her summer job because she was a teacher during the year, and in the summer she would go work at a doctor's office running their files or whatever, and I'd be the file clerk or whatever. And she didn't need the help. She was just saying, you need to learn to work. And especially different, my parents had certain advantages or disadvantages. My dad came from nothing. My mom came from kind of affluence in a way. But not that transferred to her. So I was raised, with my dad's success and my parents' success, but I was always enforced to work my own way.
Kind of make your own luck.
Yeah, and learn how to, work. Yeah. My dad was a worker before anything. He was a writer, but I don't understand people who say they're writers but they don't write. Yeah. They have, which is what I wrote my stories, what a writer who's struggling with writing, but But that's a different thing than somebody who has, because a lot of people have one script in this town, and that's great. I applaud anybody who sat down and wrote anything, and I encourage people to always write, especially people who say to me, "But I'm not a writer." You're talking about having ideas. I encourage anybody, like, sit down, write what happened in your day. If you want to be a writer, you got to write. But to be able to really, for me, to call myself a writer, I had to sit down and write every day, and it's that work ethic is ingrained, and I think it comes from being forced to do certain things,
Right. A file clerk, junior file clerk.
I was a file clerk. It was very easy work, but I like that stuff. And I didn't know I had OCD when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I don't have extreme OCD. I'm not like a big spokesperson for it or anything.
Right.
But later on, I found out I have certain things I like to arrange, silverware every once in a while. I can eat if somebody else moves it, but I
Right.
might move it back before it's not crippling or debilitating.
Yes.
But I do have it, and it's stuff like file clerking, dishwashing. I like those things. They're
Right.
very meditative to me.
Sure.
And and filmmaking's the same thing. And watching a film, when you're hooked into it, is very meditative. It's very, like you're in a dream.
No, yeah,
somebody
absolutely.
else's dream even. And having your own. How often are you watching a movie and you realize, oh, I was just thinking about, like, I saw a scene, and then suddenly I was like, well, what if I went to Rome right now? And I'm having this full fantasy, and then I'm like, oh, I'm in a movie. I'm watching a movie. What is going on here?
Right.
So.
Yeah. No.
It's an
beautiful.
interesting.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
it's a real interesting medium, and
because editing is something that I kind of fell into.
Yeah.
Someone's not able to do it. All right, I'll do it, and you end up figuring it out.
Yeah.
But that's where my mind went right now. So I'm thinking, as you get into editing, what a beautiful process it is.
Yeah.
Because some people say I had to do it, I hate it, and other people say, oh, I love it.
yeah,
And then if you love it, you begin to watch films that way.
Yeah.
Why did the editor nice cut?
Yeah.
Or why did it go too long there? Well, you start looking at that. So that's interesting that you
Yeah.
bring that up. That's great.
with Miles to Go, I actually did edit the film,
Yeah.
and with my film after that one, which is not out yet, and it's about to hit, hopefully the festival circuit. It's called Friends Effing Friends of Friends, but the Miles to Go specifically, I did edit it because I didn't have money for anything extra.
Yeah.
And I did learn how to be an editor, and so I really edited it. And what I found was, it's hard with the objectiveness and being subjective or objective and all of these things, especially when you're in it and you wrote it and all that stuff. But what I found is it's really like the final draft of the script.
Right.
Like, as a writer, you want to be able to say what's the final draft. Well, if you don't get to direct your film, so many things change from that to that. It's going to change anyway if you do get to direct your film. But if you're not the person who interpreted the script, it's going to be their interpretation of your script. So now it's changed even more. And if you're not the editor, it's going to be the editor's interpretation of the director's interpretation of the writer's interpretation, and the actors are doing their own interpretation.
Right.
So as the director, it's not like when you see somebody's name on it. I mean, I used to go, oh, he's the director, the writer, he's executive, this, all that, he's everything.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, But what it is it's somebody who really believes in their vision
Right.
and wants to maintain it as best you can in this group setting.
Yeah.
And the only way you can truly do that is if you write, direct, and edit,
Yeah.
and play every role in the part.
You're right.
And
yeah.
do the camera work and
Yeah.
exactly no, but the writing, directing, and editing, that's your best bet. Do I want to be the operator all the time? No. Do I want to be logging and capturing? No. But those are things you have to do when you can't afford it, and it's good to know how to do that because telling a story, it's nice to know every aspect of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think you're bringing at such great points. What's wonderful is that you're a filmmaker.
Yeah.
It's this is from experience, the things that you've learned.
Everything I've learned is from experience.
Yeah.
I don't learn any other way. I can't. I've watched and gone, oh, okay, I see you're on the radio, you pushed a few buttons. But if I just looked at you do that and I went, oh, okay, yeah, I kind of get the idea. You're sitting here and you slipped up some buttons. Now we're live.
Right.
But if you let me do it, if you show me,
Yeah.
now every time I come here, I could sit in that seat and just do that. I couldn't turn everything on. I might not have a good show.
Right.
It could be terrible. Maybe nobody wants to listen to me. But I can make those
You can make it
go, and
work.
I'll know we're on the air.
Yeah.
And it's like I learn from experience and from failure experiencing. When I'm experiencing it,
Nice.
failures and are the most kind of solidifying way for me to learn.
Right.
And success, yes, but you learn more from failing than from success.
Right.
You know, success is just nice. You know, failure is like, there's no,
Yeah.
masters out there. We all think so and so's a master. Ask them.
Right.
They think they're struggling still.
Yeah.
They wish they were,
Yes,
Orson Welles or
yeah.
John Ford, or
Yeah,
Kurosawa, or they wish they were that person, or Bergman, or, and you're like, no, you're the greatest. And they're like, no, my films are terrible. You're like, well, if your films are terrible, what are mine?
Yeah, right.
So, I experience, hands-on, in the field, get dirty, roll up your sleeves,
Right. And what you're saying, feeds so perfectly into, those people who talk about success when they say it's those that think they achieved it that they begin to descend. It's the ones that are still striving.
Yeah.
And that movie was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was all right. I have another one in me.
Exactly.
You got another one in you, man? That was fantastic.
Yeah.
It speaks to us, but they're still achieving. It's fascinating.
That's right. They might, I mean, I don't really know too many filmmakers that I think are great who think their own film that they've made was their pinnacle.
You're right.
I think that's why everybody keeps chasing it, and the more opportunities you get, I mean, you get a Kubrick, Stanley Kubrick, and it's, we're all watching him going, what the hell is he doing with Eyes Wide Shut? I heard he shot for like 12 months,
Right.
and people are on, like Sidney Pollack talked about, like he came on set thinking he was going to do like 1 or 2 days. He saw Tom Cruise and he was like, Tom, how's it going? And he was like, great. He's like, you're here? Yeah, I'm just doing the pool scene. I'll probably be here a couple days. He's like, oh no, you're going to be here 3 weeks at least.
Yeah, right.
And he's like, really?
And you're just walking
he
up
said
to the
he
pool.
actually shot it like 4 days
Yeah.
of him just leaving the pool table.
Yeah.
Well, what if we shot it over here? What do we, But I think that comes from a master who's gone past where they were, and now they're just kind of out there doing whatever they want, and it gets away from you. But I don't think anybody thinks they've mastered anything really.
Right.
I mean, if some schnook comes up to them and tries to tell them how to do it,
Right.
oh yeah, the ego will tell them, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm so and so. I know how to do this.
Yeah,
but
right.
It's an interesting process.
Yeah,
It really is.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
'Cause you always hear, it's one of the stories that always stands out in my mind is Brando. He said, I remember Shirley Jones was, I'm trying to remember the movie, but she said she did a scene with him. He goes, and she found, first take, boom, she did it. Man, that was great. He goes, but he ended up doing another 20.
Yes.
He says, by that time, she says, I was warned, but he goes, but he did get better with each scene. So it's fascinating.
Was it a Kazan film? Was it?
I'm trying to remember.
Was it on the waterfront? No, it was. I've heard. I mean, Kazan would do that too. I think he would do multiple takes to somebody until they were broken down.
Right, and then there's the moment. But it's interesting.
No, it's very interesting. Also, you touched on the word success, and like something I found, especially in Hollywood industry, if you want to be an actor, if you want to be a writer, a director, whatever you want to be, if you want to be a cinematographer or whatever, you have to learn how to redefine the word success, because it has to mean something to you, because we all come in and go, well, if I'm an actor, like when I wanted to be an actor only, and I was thinking about that as a kid, I thought success was you got a billboard, you're the most famous person in the world, and you travel around doing every movie, and you're amazing. Everybody worships you. That's success. And if you don't have that, you're not successful. And I would book a commercial and be like, that's cool, but I didn't understand that was actually not even the success. Like, yes, that's a success, but you know what else was a success? Waking up, just going to acting class, and getting an audition. Like, that's success. Like, a lot of people you can't get that. So it's like with writing, if you're sitting down and writing, you're success. That's what a writer's about. It's not about getting a film made, being a writer. Being a writer is about writing.
Yes.
Being a filmmaker is about making a film. And when you're very, like harsh on every film that you would watch, and I would be, and I'd be like, oh, how did this garbage get distribution before I'd ever made a film?
Yes.
And then you start seeing the process to make a film, and you're like, I want to revise my opinion of so and so. The fact that they even got that made is incredible, because nobody wants to give anybody money. That film that you're probably tearing apart didn't really make money. It's not. I mean, some films that make money you'll tear apart, but I'm talking about these really indie, like the films I make, these do-it-yourself films. You'll see, and some of them it's just kind of painful to watch, and maybe people feel that way about my films. I'm sure there are people who do, but like from my perspective, it's like the fact that you even made one and got it out there at all is worth applause, and that's the success. It's the success is in the the happiness and the enjoyment in life. You know, the fact that you, for those however many hours or days, you didn't have to go work a job that you didn't want to work, but you got to do what you really want to do, even if you're still working a job you don't want to do. But those hours, you're a success. Every hour you get to talk to a friend or talk to Gus or, you know, whoever it is about my work, this is a success. Not because I'm on a radio show or anything, but because I'm talking about what's passionate to me and why I like being alive. You know, I like family, friends, and I like movies. And this is what I like. And I like talking about stuff like this. I like to explore what makes people tick, and that's why I'm a filmmaker too, because I'm trying to present what makes me tick and solve things while I'm doing that, you know, in my own brain.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, everything you said there is, I think, a wonderful perspective that a lot of people unfortunately miss through their journey.
Yeah.
Is right. I need to be that type of movie star or that type, but you are actually working at what you want to do.
Exactly.
You know, that is an quote success. It's, you know, and I have a similar perspective. It's what I feel is success, not what someone else thinks, because you will always fall short.
Exactly.
But
you have to define it for yourself.
Exactly.
And you have to keep yourself in check too, because you know, you want to be Howard Stern with $50 million and your radio show that everybody worships. Everybody wants, you know, it's like, well, why aren't I getting, what do you mean, you know, so-and-so got a deal at Fox Searchlight to do their first film for $5 million now. Like, I want that. Yeah, I do. But, like, you know, you got to keep it in check. Like, where are we? Like, you know, grounded and like, it's tricky. That's the trick, you know, how to stay satisfied and how to want to keep going, you know. Yeah. Many people quit, you know, and it's hard.
A lot of people quit.
You know, I found for myself that that I learned early on, like, the only person who can stop me is me.
Nice.
And so the only way I fail is by quitting. And I've watched people quit. It's the saddest thing in the world.
Right.
For some reason, I get a kick out of it when my friends tell me they're breaking up with people, and I think it's because I think like, oh wow, what's out there for you now? Or like they're saying they're going to move. I'm leaving LA. I'm going to Chicago. Wow, that's amazing. You're going to Chicago. Let me think about that. That's really fun. That's exploring. That's interesting. Yeah. But when somebody tells me, who I know for a fact is dying to be a writer, an artist, a painter, a sculptor, an architect, whatever it is, and they're doing that schooling, training, they're getting their, you know, they're doing it, and they suddenly realize, it's just too hard. I don't want to live broke anymore. I don't want to be scraping, chasing my dreams. I want, you know, and they go into that other thing, whatever it is. It's so depressing to me, you know? Yeah. It's really depressing. And so for me, it's that constant fight, like, move forward. And I have doubts. I have those moments where you're like, oh, what's the point? What am I doing? You know, who's going to ever care? Yeah. But I got to just keep doing it. What else am I going to do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's wonderful. You know, do you know, as a filmmaker, you know, these truths that you're saying, do you also put them in your film?
Yes.
And did you find them in films? Because a lot of times...
Yes, both.
Both, yeah.
Yeah. I'm attracted to the movies that are having these conversations. I'm attracted to, you know, the Cassavetes and the Truffauts and Woody Allen and Baumbach and Nicole Holofcener and Sofia Coppola and these kind of people who are really diving into these conversations. Right. And that's why I also find people like Joe Swanberg and Mark Duplass and these other people really inspiring too, because they're just doing it. You know, they're making it happen and they're having. But those are my conversations. Like, Avengers would be fine to go see, and I'm not saying I won't see it. I might see it. It's not on my list of things. I don't really care. It's enjoyable when I watch it. It distracts me from life or whatever, and it's fine. And I see what they're doing is something that I would never think of. I can't even consider how you make it, and I know the process they go through to make it, but I couldn't consider doing it. And it's just not what drives me, you know. And it's funny because in films, you know, you have... It's like music. Some people like sad music and they're sad. Right. Other people are like, why are you listening to that sad music? Listen to happy music. Yeah, right, and it's like with films, my friends are like, oh yeah, you like those talky-talk, depressive films that make you think of reality. I like the films that make me forget about reality. Yeah, but for me, for some reason, watching those things helps me escape reality and relate to, you know, the human experience we're all sharing.
Right.
You know?
Was there ever a film, well, I'm sure there was, or is there a film that stands out in your mind, a scene or what have you, that spoke to that truth. It's like, wow, I remember this particular movie, and I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I remember years ago, The Jazz Singer with Neil Diamond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a scene where he's about to go home, and him and Lucy Arnaz are out on the beach, and she's telling him about her father. He goes, my father was a sound engineer. He was fantastic. He goes, but when he was a little kid, he always wanted to be a concert pianist. He goes, but no one ever listened. And so he ended up becoming a sound engineer.
Yeah.
And she said, I always wondered if he thought I could have been. And that was a scene, this is years ago that I saw it, and I was a kid. And it's always stood out in my mind.
Huh.
Wow, could I have been? Because sound engineers are fantastic. You can't have music and everything without a sound engineer.
That's right.
But what he wanted to do was become a concert pianist. So you can relay that. I've told that story before. I said, but you can relay that to anything. I want to be a writer. I want to be an actor. Well, so I became an agent, or I became something outside.
Yeah, because you want to work and make a living in a slightly less, not competitive, but slightly more attainable way by following, like, with not necessarily guaranteed, but if you really wanted to be an agent, especially if you're at a certain age, you can probably chase somebody down, become a male person, grow, and before you know it, you'll be an agent. Well, maybe you're not at a great place, maybe you are, maybe you're not, maybe you'll find some people to represent, but there's no painting by numbers to become a filmmaker.
Right.
It's a lot of punching in the dark and hoping you hit something. Yeah. And then when you hit that thing, hold on to it and let it pull you to the next place where hopefully there's a little bit more light, Yeah. And it's just a slow process of turning on this tiniest speckle of light onto something that you can't even see. Yeah. You're still in the dark when you do your first thing. Yeah. And then you're in the dark and you do your second thing. It's a little lighter, and before you know it, hopefully you get to a little brightness to where I'm nowhere near where I'm hoping to get to, but I'm doing stuff that I really like to do, and hopefully I'm saying something that people are interested in.
Yeah, absolutely.
As far as what you're saying, I don't really remember the one thing that sticks out to me that was like, I'm going to be a writer, other than I remember going around with my dad into places like the Johnny Carson show where he was writing for him, or on set of Happy Days or something, or being taken to a set to watch one of his friends' films or meeting people, and it just seemed like I want to be a part of this world. Also, my dad was my hero in many ways, and my mom was also a big hero of mine as far as like how to be in life. But my dad was what I wanted to do, and so he was a writer, and I wrote, and I just loved it. I love the sound of the typewriter.
Right.
I'm one of those guys who loves books,
Nice.
and even if I'm not reading them, if you said I could just have every book in the bookstore and put them in my place, I like piles of books. I like the physicality, the scent, the pages, the covers, the colors, all of it, and and I actually like reading, but it's the same thing with typewriters. There's something about a typewriter I like. Now I write on my computer, but I still love a type. There's something, and that's like for me, it's probably from my childhood. It's from how I remember it. There's a comfort and a safety in hearing click, 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 click. You knew Dad was home, and he was a home body, so he wasn't like a traveling Wilbury and out there not at dinner. He was at dinner every night, but he also worked for these great shows. But I would hear that writing, and to this day, my father passed away a couple years ago, and I gave my sister one of his old typewriters, and she said the second it plugged in, my sister Jennifer just said, it's like Dad's in the other room when I hear Noah, her son, typing, and it's like, it's like there he is, and I don't know what that is, but I don't even know how I got to that thought, but it's all part of everything. Why I want to do what I do. Exactly.
Yeah, you bet.
You bet, By the way, did I mention we have a film, Miles to Go,
yes.
on online right now, and you can get it on VOD on iTunes and Xbox and Vudu, and I think even Google Play and maybe Vimeo on demand. But and we're going to be having a little premiere party that's private tomorrow night, but it will be at the Arena Cinemas Hollywood for the following week, starting Saturday evening. So, hopefully people will check it out or whatever. Anyway, sidetrack, as I could talk for an hour about, cell phones or something and forget to mention the film. Why are you here? Totally.
No, that's fantastic because, for me, makes up the film.
Yes.
Because in your case, the film is so integral in everything that you do.
Yeah.
The writer, the director, the editor, you did literally everything. So this gives great insight into that film. So
I worked on a lot of the aspects. I mean, I too, you do feel like, oh, you did everything, but you don't do everything alone.
Yeah.
So, I did have an amazing cinematographer, Amza Moglin, who's just got a beautiful eye, and he's a wonderful person. He's a lovely guy. He's a true artist in spirit and soul and mind. And he, the nice thing about Amza and myself is that we both love film. We can talk film, but we don't love everything the same. So, that's nice because while we're working together, it's a true collaboration. It's not just two versions of me doing the same thing. Yes, we both have a similar sentimentality and a sort of, an aesthetic that we like, and we agree on a lot of overall things and ideas. But there'll be certain things he doesn't like, and that's great because it challenges me and vice versa.
Nice.
And so we work really well together. And then my co-producer partner, Alex Rinks, who was also my first AD, was my eyes because I'm in the scenes. So he's really helping me know, no, you that was good. Trust me, we can move on. And these kind of things. And I had a UPM, and I had my guy Aaron Lopez, and then the actors and the sound, and everybody helping just shift the camera gear because I couldn't do that also, even though on these you commonly do.
Right.
But because I had several other things happening, it was like, all right, go change, go do this while they do that. And, we shot in my apartment, so I kind of lived with the stuff, and that's a whole other world. Like trying to sleep when you're like surrounded by all the equipment is nerve-wracking, and it was quite an experience. So, yeah, I did a lot of jobs, but I do want to clarify for me, like I didn't do everything, but I did a lot of jobs. And maybe that's a bad thing sometimes, but it's also a necessity sometimes. And when it's a necessity, you got to make the best of what you got, and that's what we had, and so that's what we did. And I learned a lot from it. That was the whole point of this film for me, was making a feature film. I was trying to make another film, and I couldn't get the money. I had a little bit of money, and then I thought, well, what can I do for the money I had? And I was watching different films over the time, little do-it-yourself, like different levels of do-it-yourself, like from the, with people in them or with people out of them. There's this film by Brad Russ Gray called The Exploding Girl, which was just a beautiful film I was obsessed with at the time. Very stripped-down story about a girl who's, it doesn't matter, but it was just, a character study about this girl. And I wasn't making that movie, but I thought to myself, like, what can I do about a guy, and how can I control the environment and control the actor enough so that we can limit the potential of him not showing up or being or whatever it would be. And so I was like, well, it's got to be me. And I was an actor, and you don't get opportunities to star in films when you're not a star. So naturally I was going to play the part that I thought I was best suited for, but I wrote the part for myself. So and that's a whole other thing. It's confusing to people when they watch it. Is it you? Are you the character? Other people just conclude it's you automatically. There's a lot that goes into that, and there's fear in your head, and what am I putting forward, and am I going to upset people because I like to write from reality and like from things that are at least real, and it might not be something I did all the time. A lot of the times it is. Sometimes I'm taking from something a friend told me, or an ex told me, or a friend's girlfriend told him and he told me, or a girl told me about their boyfriend or whatever, and I think, does this fit for the character or that character, and I do it. But when you present it, people are aware of the conversations you've had with them, and I always tell people, you talk to me about something, it might end up being explored. It won't be the same thing verbatim.
You're right.
But
a little was it painting place?
Yeah. It was like when we went to the screening, we joked, I said like every 3 minutes somebody's going to stand up and be like, F you, Quincy, and walk out, after they heard something in character.
Yeah.
And,
I told you that in private.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I mean, yeah, I did it all. In my next film, I did a little less. I'd hopefully like to, I think like I was saying earlier, I really love writing. That's my first and foremost thing. And I love directing, so I really want to do that. Do I have to act in everything? No. Do I like doing it? Sure, when the part's correct. No. But the editing, I don't necessarily want to be I don't want to be transcribing or logging and capturing, and I don't even necessarily want to be on the controls. But I do want to be in the room when we get into the real editing. I know there's a lot of directors, and when you get bigger, they mark down your favorite take. goes to the other room, somebody pieces it together, you get to see what it looks like, and then you start making your adjustments. That's not necessarily great to me. Like, to
Right.
me, I want to be in there seeing what's the choice, because oftentimes you think the best take was take 3 on set. It felt great. And then when I go back there and I look at 1, 2, and 3, I'm like, wait, was it take 3? Because I see it said take 3, and I said that, and I remember saying that now, but take 1 looks so much better. So, if we just go by what we thought was great on set, I might miss what I think is right in the post,
Yeah.
It's a whole different process.
Which is funny because, when I hear that, my mind always goes to that you're pulled out of the situation.
Yes.
Now you're in a whole different light. You're in a whole
Yeah.
different, mindset.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I know. Okay. No, but no, this is where I want to go now.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. I hear that a lot.
It's interesting, and it's tricky, and it's painful, and it's not a pleasure. It's not, glamorous. The pleasure is in when it's coming together. And then there's a whole other painful experience of like, now it's going to play somewhere. What are they going to react? How are people going to react? Because, another thing about my kind of filming, of what I've been doing so far, is completely disregarding any concern for an audience while making it. Really trying truly to make the film I want to see, and hoping that an audience
Nice.
enjoys it, relates to it, can find it universal, or etc. I obviously am not trying to make a film that everybody hates. I mean, some people might do that.
Yeah.
I actually want an audience, but I don't want to have, a test screening where 45% of the people think you shouldn't say that word anymore, so then I go back and edit that word out. Like that to me is not me making a film and presenting it to the world for you to critique or criticize or enjoy or whatever. That's me, pandering to a crowd, and worrying about results. That's that to me, that waters down the art. That waters down what I'm trying to say. People might hate my stuff, and I'm sure people do, and people might love my stuff, and that's great. But what I'm trying to avoid is indifference. I don't
Nice.
mind you hating it.
Yeah.
Usually,
But
if you
hate
hate
for
it,
a
it hit a
reason.
nerve.
Yeah.
You probably didn't hate it just because you were bored for 90 minutes. It's probably not like, ugh, this guy has nothing, he's boring. It's more like, I hate that guy, I don't like his face. I don't like his stupid hair. No, whatever it is. And, oh, what's his name? Quincy, come on. What kind of name is Quincy? But no, so you know what I mean? Like, it's like, you hope they like it.
Right.
But like, I can't make films for other people. I don't write for other people. I mean, I can write if you said, hey, I want you to write this idea, I can do that. But it's always going to have a lot of my personal stuff in it. And, I want to write what I want to write, and I want to shoot what I want to shoot. At some point, I might have to take a paycheck and forego some of that.
You're right.
That's great. And I do.
Yeah.
But,
Because that's great. Because it's, going along that route.
Yeah.
That means someone saw your art and said, I want that for myself, so I'm going to pay them to give me what they have.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
instead of saying, okay, now I got to drown down myself. Well,
Yeah.
it's always a perspective. No, someone saw what you're doing.
Yeah.
They just want to tweak it a little bit to
Sure.
fit, because now there's a collaboration.
The collaboration
I want that to
and
fit here.
Their involvement, their
Yeah.
money. That's when it's interesting.
Yeah.
Because, and I haven't had this experience yet, which I hope to have at some point, even though I'm sure it'll drive me crazy when it's happening.
You're right.
But, in relationships, you meet somebody and you fall in love because they're individual and they're unique and they're who they are. And then you do everything you can to turn them into you and what you like. And then you guys, the fight is about, and then you're bored with each other because now you're really just dating yourself, and it's why are we together in the first place? You forget what made them unique in the first place. And what's funny or interesting to me, just from an idea of like a money person coming around and going, I loved your 3 first films. I'm going to pay to make your next film. Who do you see in it? No, you're not doing that person. How do you, change the ending? It's like, wait a minute. Didn't you just say how much you love me and you want me to do what I did, but you don't. You want me to do what you want. So are you looking for, and there is a, like you said, there has to be some sort of collaboration and you have to forgo certain things. But at the same time, you hope that this person's actually trying to elevate your goals and ideas if they like your stuff, as opposed to just hiring. Because certain companies do actually have films that they're making, They just make them for money, and that's great. And I know it's a business, but I mean, they specifically make their film in a month. They don't care, and they're just looking for somebody to stand and yell cut and action and cut, and maybe talk to a couple actors every once in a while. But for the most part, it's not your film. It's their film. They make it clear you're getting some money. It's their film. That's a different experience. I don't even know if that's enticing to me. It'd be nice to have the money if there's a lot of money,
sure,
so I could go and just keep making my little art house films. But that doesn't sound like fun. It doesn't sound
appealing, uplifting.
Yeah, like satisfying. It sounds like torture in a way.
Then you're right back in that circle.
Yeah,
of just working.
Yeah, and that's not compromising. That's the problem. That's dictation. That's not why you're a director. That's not to say you want to solve every problem on your set, and that you don't need to hear other people say like, "Don't you think it's a little too long?" I mean, with Miles to Go, I presented a cut of the film at the first screening, and we were gung-ho for this cut. I mean, it had like 4 or 5 minutes of silence in the front, like silence.
Yeah.
And I was like, "It's French. It's this. It's fuck the crowd, and who gives a shit? Oh, excuse me. Forget the crowd, and who cares? And this is just we're gonna show we're real film. This and that." And some people were like, "Wow, really brave, open. Like that was." I loved what you were doing there, but the majority of people,
like, what happened?
And not only just the majority of the crowd, but like real key people opinions I trust, that I got the film to, other filmmakers and producers, and they were like, I know what you're trying to do in the front. I get it. You did a great job, and maybe if you were somebody who was so famous, a crowd could sit and watch it because they're just intrigued by the fact that you're that person,
right,
and they can watch what you're doing. Like, wow, if it was Ryan Gosling, we might watch him for 5 minutes just being silent,
right,
and we do, But for you right now, I understand what you're trying to say at the beginning. You can cut it down in a way that I'm not going to tell you how to. That's up to you still.
Yeah.
But I would recommend trim it to get this out and still get the point across. And it took me a long time to find that cut. And one night I was about to go to sleep, and it just hit me as I was falling asleep.
Yeah.
That's what. And I jumped up and went to the computer. And luckily, because of now the way movies can be made, I made it in my living room.
Right.
And so I woke up, opened the computer, my little laptop, which I cut the whole film on, and I only mention that not because I'm impressed by me. I'm impressed by the fact that a little computer, you can buy at a store, is not a giant machine.
Right.
So, and I made that cut, and I called my co-producers, and I called my cinematographer Hamza, and I said, "You guys got to see this thing. I don't know if I'm totally nuts or if it was the right." And they looked and they go, "No, this is what you got to do. We still need to soften it, fix it, tweak it a little."
But you got the essence.
Yeah, exactly. We picked the color. We knew the color, and now it was just smoothing it out and painting the edges. Exactly.
It's great because, someone giving you advice like that, they see it.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you were talking about, experience. When someone who cares, is telling you, I know what you're doing. I see it.
Yeah.
But from my 20, 30 years of experience,
exactly,
if you tweak it just a little bit, you're going to get the effect of what my experience is telling you.
Exactly.
And if you're like, "Oh, well, no, you can't touch my film," then you miss out. But here they are giving you it, but not telling you exactly where to go, which they could, which is what their job, but they want you to find it so you can see it for your next route, which I love when you get, I wouldn't even call that criticism. That's
constructive. It's like help. It's like the benefit of somebody else's experience. Yeah, exactly. And take it or leave it. I find that when DVDs offer the quote-unquote director's cut, essentially what they're saying to you is, here's the same film with 20 extra minutes of material that the director didn't want to lose, that we made him lose because we have the rights to sell it, and we need to market it, so he had to let go of 20 minutes. But it's never the director. And watch the director's cut, which is 45 minutes shorter. Yeah. It's never shorter. It's always longer. Every director's cut is longer, and there's a reason for that. Yeah. It's very hard, not just to kill your babies. You get used to killing your babies, which, you know what I'm talking about, but for those who don't know what I mean, those things that you love in your film that you're so proud of that you did, but it's just not translating, and it's, we call it killing your baby, you got to take it out. You have to. And as you get more and more experience, you become more and more detached from it or concerned about fighting for this, and certain ones you're like, I must fight for that, and other ones you're like, forget it, let's just get it out. But it's painful. It's not, you didn't like do X, Y, and Z so that so-and-so can take out this part of it.
Right.
You feel that this is great. And like you think everybody should get on board with your vision. That's why you're a director. Right. Everybody should watch this. This is what's great.
Yes.
But it's not true. It's good. It might be even awesome to most people, but if 99% of the people are going, your front is too long, right. And not just the people you're owing money to. I mean, people that have nothing to do with your project. They have nothing to gain.
Yes.
They just love you.
Right.
And they're saying to you,
it's too long.
It's a little too long. Yeah. You should consider that,
Absolutely.
And, of course you can't change everything for everybody. You can't, this isn't fascism, we're just, just changing every opinion to please the crowd or the all, high and mighty, but you do have to be flexible. You do. And you have to also know where to be forceful.
Right.
That's another thing, because you can get watered down real quick. You can lose control of your set real quick. I've experienced it, and it's not their fault. It's my fault as the director. You lose the sense of being, what's it mean to be captain of this ship?
Yeah.
Not to be a domineering, pain-in-the-ass jerk, but how do you lovingly get everybody to stay... You said I'm enthusiastic at the beginning.
Yeah.
You got to be that way. You got to be, people have to want to work there. It's hard work. It's not a lot of pay on these films that I do.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle, and there's a lot of hours, and there's not a lot of reward for them other than knowing they're helping somebody who's really passionate about what they do and very grateful and humble about the help you're getting, because you cannot make a movie by yourself. You just can't.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you can, but it won't be very, enjoyable. That's called a YouTube clip or whatever. It's just something, but it's not...
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think you're hitting so many great things on the head. So bringing all that into Miles to Go.
Yeah.
Real quick, a quick synopsis for those that haven't seen it.
Okay, I don't know that this will be the one that makes my my guy Jonah here happy, because I always forget the exact wording. But Miles to Go is essentially about a writer from Los Angeles who's kind of in a slump with his writing. He's in a slump with his life. He's a little bit, unhappy, and he has an on-again, off-again ex-girlfriend, Julia, whom he believes might just be the answer to his struggling right now, because when he's maybe been with her at times, he's felt more productive, or maybe that's not distracting him from his work, the fact that they're not together, so he can kind of do it. So he sort of selfishly decides to try to get back with her in hopes that this will be the answer to his problem. Now, of course, we all know, if you're depressed in California and you move to Boston, you're still depressed. Oh, that's right, because I'm still with me, But he's trying anything to get out of this problem. He's acting out sexually, emotionally. He's doing some things that are not so great, but it's really a character study about a guy who doesn't believe that relationships can last for himself, and so they don't. And it's like a, sabotaging, self-fulfilling prophecy kind of situation. And it's really me examining something that has stuck in my mind at times, having several failed relationships, and seeing people succeed though, and a lot of people not, and thinking like, well, how do I, and that's what Miles is trying to figure out. Now, me personally, I have a lot of hope in my life. I always have a lot of hope in my brain, so I'm always hoping that things will work out. I'm always up for the challenge or the chance. And right now I'm in a beautiful relationship with a wonderful person, and I can see that, I could imagine this being a permanent thing. I also know it's not guaranteed, so I have to work on it. I can't just be a jerk and expect him to be here. But Miles, the character, is a guy who absolutely doesn't believe that relationships can last for him, and they don't.
Yeah.
Surprise, and it's not a Hollywood feel-good movie. It's not that kind of thing. I'm really examining what does it mean to be that person. Yeah. A guy who's acting out sexually yet expects his relationship to be fine, and he's redoing the same things but expecting different results. He's a great friend, so he's not just a piece of blank. He's actually a really good friend to his sister. He's very loving to, and he's kind to. He has a couple best friends who he's very helpful with. He has one friend that's worse than him and makes him feel good about himself. And it's a character study. It's funny at times. Hopefully, it's truthful. It's got a lot of honesty in it, which is uncomfortable for a lot of people. It's got a lot of me in it, which is uncomfortable for people I know. And so, but that's what it is, and that's kind of what I was examining at that time.
Were you examining it as a third person and looking at your own life, or you just took yourself as the foundation and kind of just branched out? It wasn't literally an examination of you and your psyche.
That particular thing at the time, the can a relationship last for me, was in my head.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, this is interesting, because the more people I talk to about it, they say, and not just people in failed relationships, people married 16, 17, 25 years would say to me, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think, is this going to fall apart? Or not every day, but like there's, you would think, oh, you're together 25 years, that's it, celebrate,
Yeah.
No, that's why people who are together 25, 30 years still get divorced. It's not like, I'm sober. People who have 30 years sober still drink every once in a while. It's not a guarantee. There's certain things you have to do. But I was at a point thinking, I don't know if relationships can last for me. But what would that look like in a character? And what is this character? And then also, as I mentioned, I only had a little bit of money to make a film. So I had to fit a film into the budget, not fit a budget into the film,
Right.
And so I wrote specifically a thing that I could control, where I could examine something that I felt was interesting. And my number one rule as the writer was, do not shy away from it if it's scary, as long as it's truthful. Don't be gratuitous, but be honest. And, I said, well, look, we don't have to film it, but in the writing process specifically, I would find myself every once in a while starting to write the truth, and then being like, it's too ugly, let me go this way. People are going to hate me. And then being like, no, that's fake. This was the truth. He does stupid things like goes to massage parlors, and not the savory ones, and he does that stuff, and he's not happy about it. He's not celebrating, going like, woohoo, strip clubs and this and that. He's just screwed up, and he's trying to solve problems and fix that hole in him with all the wrong things. He's not addressing himself. Even though he is examining himself in therapy and such, he's not really taking the steps required to improve himself. And a lot of people relate to that, surprisingly to me. I thought only certain guys in certain age ranges, or girls who have related to those guys.
Yeah.
No, I've had it in festivals and such, and sat in audiences, and I'm a 40-year-old white male, white-ish, I guess, Jewish guy. I've had, African American women in their 50s, or white women in their 60s say how much they enjoyed it, or 20 somethings and who haven't quite gotten there yet, and people do relate to it somehow, and if you're watching it for what it really is, if you're there to see a happy-go-lucky film, you're in the wrong room, But I don't mean it's displeasing to watch. It's not displeasurable. It's if that's even a word, but it's actually I don't know. It's examining something. So if you like examining stuff, it's definitely something to check out.
Because it's funny because you're saying examining stuff, because when most people watch a film, that's exactly what they're doing. They're kind of following the person, whatever their arc is.
Yeah.
But here, your film is telling people, I'm examining my life, and you're seeing me examine my life. So what people instinctively do in a film, which is look at a character, like you were talking about, these big action films.
Yeah.
They're still wondering what Tony Stark, how did he get to
Yeah.
where, they're just wondering that. But here you are, you're allowing them into this journey. So I think that's a wonderful, I love films like that go into that. I just saw a film called Fight Flights Up with Diane Keaton and...
I want to see this with Morgan Freeman and Diane Keaton. It looks so cute.
Yeah, great. They play a married couple 40, 50 years, and
they decide maybe they'll get rid of their place.
Yeah, and it's just them,
Yeah,
and he
I love
fit
that.
perfect into that model. Morgan Freeman. That's a Diane Keaton film.
Yeah.
But he fit perfect. But it's an examining of their life. And, the things that are happening around them.
Yeah. I haven't seen that film yet, but I saw the trailer, and I'm so happy for it for so many reasons, because in America, we don't make films about 60-somethings who are almost 70 and they're the lead couple in a romantic relationship, and we don't care about that in America.
Yeah.
In France, you'll see that. In Europe, you'll see that. Other countries, you don't see that in America. It's really hard. That's why women and men, not men seem to get away with it easier, but women once they're past a certain age, they'll tell you it's really hard to get jobs because suddenly there's only 5 women working at that age, or they're lesser known people. But so I'm really happy for that, and that film looks funny too, and I think they're all great who are involved with it. So I want to check that out. I think for Miles to Go, our specific character that we're looking at is what we've not coined because the expression existed, but what we're coining for him or saying for him is he's a man-child. He's the guy who looks in the mirror and sees this face of his father, and so he knows he should be acting like an adult, but he's still dressed like a boy. And I'm not picking on people who dress. I still dress that way. I still, I think if I asked my nephew who's 12, what do I look like, or my niece who's 14, 15, what do I look like, she'd be like, you're a man, you're an adult. But in my head, I still feel like, like I'm trying to prove something. I feel like a child trying to get approval. And then when I look in the mirror, I'm like, well, you're dressed like you used to when you were 6, But in this world, especially the baby boomers generation, which I am not, but they are my peers, but I was raised by people from the 30s.
Right.
So my parents were married their whole time. And right till my mom passed away, and then eventually my dad passed away. But a lot of the baby boomer generations came from divorced situations, I noticed, from my friends at least. And, a lot of the kids of those people, we're people who have, and not just people who grew up with affluence, it's just a state of mind today. Like, people play video games. People didn't do that. You played stickball in the street, and then you hit a certain age and you went to college or the army, and then you hit a certain age and you got a job, and you hit a certain age and you had a wife or a kid or whatever it was, and that was what you did. But then a certain time came and people were like, why are we doing all that, man? Peace, and like, I don't want to do that, and burn the bra and all that stuff. And then things shifted, and then we were the kids of those people, or even if your parents weren't of that ilk, you were still influenced by that. And we were like, hey, let him alone. He'll figure it out, and like, so I'm a late bloomer. I'm it took me a while to catch up. In many regards, I'm ahead of the curve.
Right.
In other regards, I'm behind the curve, and I think a lot of women get frustrated, especially in cities like Los Angeles and New York. I live in New York, but I grew up here and I spent a lot of time here, especially until recently. And these cities breed kids who don't have to grow up, and men who don't have to grow up, and you still have the option of this girl or that girl later on down the line. And it's more about your car than buying a house. It's about having the right cell phone and the right jacket and the right car, and you're not really growing as a human, and then girls are wondering, why my boyfriend's driving me crazy, and and it's all this stuff, and he refuses to grow, and it's a man-child generation, and I'm exploring that. It's interesting to me because I've come from into that, begrudgingly and unwilling. It's like where you're at. So as soon as I was able to accept it, I've been able to personally grow. A lot of that has to do with sobriety. For me, not for everybody, but that was where my life went. But I'm really exploring these kind of things in this film, Miles to Go, and these are the topics that interest me.
Because we have just a few more minutes.
Yes.
But that's great what you're talking about. And then you brought up, Miles to Go and Man-Child and everything. In regards to films.
Yes.
If we look back,
Yeah.
just to the 70s, looking back at some of those characters that were in there and some of the movies, you think of, right away my mind goes to like the French Connection, Popeye Doyle, 7-Up, and you think about, all these were kind of gruely, manly men. And you start looking at the films of the 80s and 90s, even today, they're man-child.
We talk about this all the time, and my girlfriend Angelica, her father's always saying this, like, man, like you look at a man in a film who's 21, by the way, like whoever it would be, in the 50s, or the 40s, 50s, 60s, they look like men.
Yeah, they look like 30.
And now you show the 21-year-old in the film who's a man, quote unquote, he looks like a high school kid.
He looks like he's
you
12.
know? Yeah, exactly. And then you take the 50-year-old, and he's still dressing like the 21. And that's, I fall into I think, unfortunately, we're just a generation that just stopped caring about
the way we
fanciness
dress.
and manners and stuff. My dad used to say, "Do I have to bring a jacket for the?" There's not one fancy restaurant in Los Angeles. There's not one restaurant that requires you wear a coat.
Yeah.
And now you can get away with like ripped shirts and tattoos, and the most thing they seem to care about is that you're not wearing your sandals.
Right.
Like, which I don't even own. I'm one of those people who's like, men shouldn't own sandals.
Yes.
But that's a whole other story. But yeah, it's true. It's a whole different thing,
Yeah.
and it's tricky because in your head, when you look up to your father as a kid. I have this vision of my dad. My dad was 40 when I was born. I'm 40 now. And I have a vision from when I was like 5 on, when I can really remember my memory. And so he was 45, 50. And he was like a man. He was safety to me. He was, you couldn't get past him. He was Superman. He was big. He was 6'3.5". He was 220. He was a man,
Yeah.
I still don't feel like that.
Right.
And I think that's part of the coddling and the all this stuff that we were benefited to from their successes and different experiences that have, in the end, in a lot of ways, people in my position end up being a little slower to blossom in certain ways, which is fine. It's not to say it's right or wrong. It's just a new
where it's at.
Thing. But miles to go, VOD.
Yes, good job. I was just going to say, one more time, miles to go.
Yes,
Yeah.
Miles to Go. Our film is on VOD. You can find it by going to www.milestogothemovie.com. That's milestogothemovie.com, and the links are up there. That'll take you to iTunes, Xbox, Vudu, or you can go to Google Play and look it up. Also, if you're in the Los Angeles area, starting Saturday night, I can't remember, but if you go to the Arena Cinemas Hollywood.com website, you can get tickets for, Saturday through next Thursday. It'll be playing there, so go check it out on the big screen. Or, there's also an email on my website, so if you have any questions about the film or just want to call me a jerk or whatever you feel like, go ahead and send an email. But, I'd love for people to check out Miles to Go, and
Fantastic.
Hopefully they will.
And they can look up your name, Quincy Rose.
Quincy Rose, that's
future
right.
projects.
Yeah, I have another film that's hopefully hitting the festival circuit this year, and it will. And when that comes out, we'll start pushing that more. But yeah, I have a website too, QuincyRose.net. I'm on Twitter at Quincy Rose Films, and Facebook. You can find me, and so
Fantastic.
Send something.
Send something.
Look us up.
Rent the movie.
Watch the movie. I need your money.
That's right.
Exactly. And don't just have 20 people at your house all watching it, splitting that $5.
Yeah,
You gotta
charge.
go to everybody's house. We want 20 people in different houses
Nice.
watching it. The only time people will carpool in Los Angeles is to share money for parking or a movie, I think.
That's it.
But
Yeah, fantastic. I want to give a good shout out to our good friend Jonah.
Yeah, Jonah is here. And Gus, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. It really has, this is really a delight.
Yeah, I'm sure glad you were in town and
Oh,
perfect
thank you.
timing.
Yeah.
And, just love, I love when a filmmaker talks about what he does and with such passion.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure, really.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Look forward to your next project.
Thank you, yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks, Quincy.
Thank you so much.
Hey, well, this has been Gus Summers, and you've been listening to The In Show. We have in-studio guest, Mr. Quincy Rose. Of course, you can visit us at theinshow.com. We will be able to find a link to this show, and, of course, to find out everything else that we've been doing and will do. Of course, don't forget to visit us every Monday where I host In-Show Celebrities. That's where I talk about some of my favorite films and actors. And, don't forget to follow us on all those great social media sites, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Flickr, Instagram. All right. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, Gus has left the building.